Con Stathopoulos and Josh Beacon come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, I reckon that Tom Peters got it best, and if there is any author or speaker that I've had a crush on my entire career, it would be Tom Peters.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is Business Excellence in a Disruptive Age was probably one of his best presentations. You can Google it, you can find it on YouTube. It is a phenomenal presentation. And he wrote a book called The Excellence Dividend. And, you know, the interesting thing about it is that he is talking about making sure that there is excellence in every email, in every phone call, in every next 5 minutes. And, you know, it's an amazing conversation because he says that's where excellence starts. Reread the email before you send it. Think about the purpose of the call before you make it. Get clarity about what you want in life and go for it. And when you think about the disruptive age, you know, maybe 15 years ago, the whole theme of every conference that we went to was about disruption. And no one actually understood it because when someone stood up on stage and said, if Facebook was the country, and that kind of went. But tell me a little bit about this thrive and drive for excellence in who you are as a person and pushing yourself to be the very best that you can be and pushing your business to be the best version of itself.
Yeah, this is absolutely on point for us right now. So we pick a theme every year, Josh, that we focus on as a business. We do it as a family. So themes for us in the past have been high performance. Last year it was basics and standards. How do we nail the basics 100% of the time, and how do we increase the standards? This year is better is better. So this is right down my alley because I'm doing this right now for our Kickstart, right? So I look at it and I go, the disruption isn't coming from AI. That's going to be the enabler, or it could be the inhibitor, depending on how you use it, right? The disruption is how we behave at a human level. What are we doing to become better every single day? Are we open enough to being coached? Do we have enough vulnerability to be able to say, you know what, I'm a great listing agent, but I've always got that gap between the buyer and the seller of around 50K and I can't close it. Or, you know, I don't know how to prospect effectively. So being better and striving for excellence in a disruptive age is all about awareness. So it's being acutely aware of what you're doing and then what return on your investment of time, equity, capital, or whatever it might be for that result. So, for example, I prospect every day, AM, 9 till 11 and then 11 till 12 or whatever I might do, but I can make the calls, but I'm not getting the appraisals and the appraisals don't turn into a listing appointment. So then we need to work on that part. It's pretty simple stuff, man. Who are you calling? How old's the data? What are you actually saying? Why do they want to speak to you? How are you actually, what's your tone, your tonality? Did you think about it before? Were you actually making the calls or did you go and grab the coffee, then make 3 calls, then go to the bathroom, then make 3 calls? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So the difference is stacking these 1%ers, and these 1%ers, when you look back in 90 days, you'll see the results. And that's the key to this, right?
Did you see the interview between Kyrgios and McConaughey?
No.
So there's this one part where Nick Kyrgios, and this is well before the Australian Open,
right,
gets interviewed by Matthew McConaughey. And Kyrgios says to him, hey, you know, man, tell me, imagine you're now my coach me to win the Australian Open.
Oh,
now,
really?
That didn't happen because he's out in the first round. But but it's amazing what he then says.
McConaughey?
And McConaughey says to him, he goes, oh, man, I don't need to coach you, man. And just sits back for a little bit and leaves this awkward silence and then just goes. But he goes, have you ever just thought what would happen if you just fell back in love with tennis?
Wow. I just got goosebumps.
Like if you just played the ball as the ball. Wow. If you just put everything aside and just decided to place every shot.
Yeah.
And got rid of all the distractions.
All the noise.
And just focused on winning the next point.
What did Kyrgios say?
Well, I didn't watch the balance of that interview. But,
all right.
But now I'm thinking, okay, great. So, Con, what would actually just happen if you fell back in love with real estate?
Yeah. Took all the noise out, you know what, this Instagram, man.
Yeah.
Like the Instagram, as I call it.
The knowledge bombs.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think all these distractions.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a simple business. It is be enthusiastic as hell, be a market leader in terms of your knowledge of what's happening in your market, be a good human being, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth 100% of the times, work on your skills, ask for help, and do the work.
So I love this about taking those points and then moving it into define what you actually do for the customer.
Yeah.
Now, I know this sounds really funny because everyone's like, oh, no, we all do that. Yeah, no, but do we?
No, we don't.
No, I watched a moment in our business yesterday where someone's coming to an event virtually and they get a particular document that gets sent to them physically, and we still write the thank you card to that individual.
Right.
And the team member in my team also knows that particular client's having a baby this year, and she's referenced that and, we're looking forward to the safe arrival of Bubs and whatever in the thank you card. And I was like, geez, I can't remember us having that level of detail in the business. But now what I understand is that it's been so established for such a long period of time that a lot of these systems run without me having to even be aware of them now.
Yeah.
And that personalization is the big difference. So when you start to think about, well, what is it that you actually do for the customer?
You know who does this really well?
Tell me.
Amit Nayak.
Yeah.
One of our partners.
He's exceptional.
Yeah, he is. And he's got the 48 or the 52 things that Team Nayak do. And they've documented it.
Yeah.
And the reason why they've documented it, you're absolutely right. Like, let's put on our vendor's hat for a moment. And an agent sitting across saying we work with buyers. Well, of course you do. It's like a carpenter saying we work with wood.
Yes, yeah.
I would expect you to work with buyers, right?
Yeah.
But what they actually do is they will open up Agent Box and they will show bid record cards and they will show the journey of how many times they've spoken to, Josh Fegan and how many private appointments. And so they're actually showing and demonstrating at every step all the key things that other agents don't do to be able to give that person the ability to be able to get trust, but more importantly, know that they're dealing with an expert in that field, right?
And this is amazing because when you get bored with what you do, when you get to the point where like, well, everyone does that, then what you're actually saying psychologically to yourself that you are no better than anyone else, and so therefore you are not worth a higher fee.
Correct.
And you've got to start understanding that like the difference. And it's like that whole thing. Someone says, well, are you similar to that person? I'm not sure. I've never used them.
Yeah.
But I know what we do.
Yeah, correct.
And these are the very specific things that we do as to get X, Y, Z done.
Spot on.
So this interesting thing about developing a service edge, it's got to be in a way that the customer actually cares about it. So if I said to you, hey, Colin, I understand that we're selling a property on your behalf and that you're an absentee owner, would it be okay if I do a quick FaceTime for you prior to every open for inspection, just so you can quickly see the property is beautifully presented and it's right to go?
Yeah, perfect.
Now, I think that if you're based in Hobart and I'm selling a property for you here in Sydney, that's a really great customer experience.
Yeah.
Hey, Colin, I want to make this a bit more of a human experience when we do our vendor meetings because you're absentee. Would it be okay if we quickly jump on a Zoom and I'll just talk you through where we're at and what it is that we're doing and make that happen?
Pretty simple.
And so now all of a sudden what's starting to happen is you're starting to think that you're using technology in a more powerful way to deliver that service edge.
Do you know what we used to do, Josh, when I was at Edgecliff, the sales manager, right? We had because you said Hobart, we had a client that had an investment property in Darlinghurst.
Yes.
And they lived in Hobart. And I said to the agent, why don't you offer to jump on the plane and go and see them? Tickets $200. Just fly in, fly out. The fact that they actually offered was what was one of the main reasons why they won the listing.
Yeah.
That's a service edge. It's something that just that one little bit more than what you know what I mean, that you don't have to do, that you do.
I think that whole thing is about, if you get really clear about what you do, then you can deliver it consistently. So a great example of that, like if you come and see us in Double Bay, for a private coaching session, we don't offer tea, coffee, anything else. We just offer a bottle of room temperature Fiji water, 500 mils. Now, I know that sounds really basic, but there's a couple of key things for it. Most people are dehydrated. Number two, room temperature water is absorbed by the body a lot quicker than cold water is. The other key thing is that it's a consistent delivery standard, and Fiji water is a part of our brand. I think it's one of the best waters on the planet. It's got a very simple packaging. It's very clear about what it is. The bottle's not flimsy to open. There's a whole range of reasons for it. It's blue, which is part of my favorite color scheme. So from that point of view,
I love the way your brain thinks.
It's like tick, 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 tick,
got it.
tick.
It's easy.
And I remember Kylie, at points had ordered some water from Officeworks and it was hard to open and it kind of spilled on you a bit at the plastic. And I was just like, nah, we're not doing that anymore. And it tasted a bit weird. There was a bit of dust on the bottle. Yeah. So so we went down that whole idea, and that's about getting the delivery standards there. And your lovely wife Emily said to me, that she still has PTSD from how much she was drilled to make sure that the San Pellegrino water labels faced the front in the fridge.
That's exactly right. Plus the blinds all had to line up as well when they were drawn up.
You got to let it go a bit, man.
I can't, mate. It's my OCD. But you know what? These are the small things, small things that matter. You know, it was interesting. I stayed at a friend's place when I was in the US, and he said to me the next morning, he goes, you know what? You're welcome to come back here anytime. I said, thanks, mate. That's awesome. And I said, why do you say that? He goes, because you're one of the few people that when you went to bed last night, you put the pillows back exactly how they were on the couch. Mm-hmm. So the 1%ers, we think that. So I've got this thing with my team. I want you to imagine, guys listening, I want you to imagine it's Saturday. Okay? You've put your pointer boards out, you're going to your first open. You pull up and every single neighbour is now looking at you through their curtains. You can't see them, but they can see you. We are on show 24/7. So how we behave, how we act, what we say and what we do is going to be the differentiator in experience. Okay, because technology, as I said earlier, is running at such a pace, right? What we've got to be careful of, and social and all this sort of stuff, is this is a human-to-human contact sport that we're in. So the better as a human you are, and the better delivery of experience is what's going to be your major differentiator. No one can replicate that.
And what we see is a lot of people, what I go to call distractions. So when you think about it, one of the great concepts I was taught was focus versus awareness. So with focus, you see that there is a crossing and you cross the street. With awareness, you see there's a concrete truck coming that can't stop in time.
Yeah.
And so you need a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that people are focusing on the wrong thing.
Correct.
They're focusing on the competitor rather than the customer.
Yep.
They're focusing on the cheap fee that someone's apparently offering in market versus actually having awareness of that and instead focusing on the service differentiation.
Correct.
That would allow the customer to go to pay more.
Correct.
Where do you see the future of vendor service and buyer service compared to where it's at in most businesses today?
I see being more transparent, to be frank. So, you know, there used to be an agent we worked with years ago that would put their agency agreements on display. They'd write out the commission and they'd have their guide, their agent's opinion of price, and then they'd have the comparables that they used, which they gave to the owner.
Wow.
So when people said, you know, what do they want? I've got 1 to 1.1 on my agency. Now I can see that, but what do they really want? Well, I've got the comparables that I used to substantiate my price, so they want 1 to 1.1. It even got to a point when it came to auction day, when he was doing the registrations, because he always insisted on doing the regos, he'd go, Josh, just so you know, the reserve's 1.1. Con, just so you know, the reserve's 1.1. What do you reckon the opening bid was?
1.1.
1.1.
Genius.
So I look at the future of buyer servicing and vendor servicing as radically transparent, information delivered in real time so they can make the best informed decisions. Everything that they need to make a decision, building and pest, strata reports, all those things are all bundled up. This is just part of the experience. And then more importantly, it's the service that they provide after the sale has been completed. I actually think that that's where the differentiator is, and that's where you can, you know, there's a lot of gaps there.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
Con, the highs and lows and the art of a great nightclub DJ.
Well, it's coming from one.
Yeah, yes. So this is interesting. So I caught up with a friend the other day and I've not seen her for 25 years. And, you know, like that's how long our friendship has been, I should say. And, you know, she said, do you ever remember, you know, back when you were getting that gig to go and DJ at the nightclub in town? And I was like, yeah. She goes, do you remember your pitch? And like all of a sudden it started vividly coming back. But I remember that like the art of a great DJ set was to actually build up that dance floor.
Yes.
And get all the girls to come onto the dance floor. And then once all the girls were on the dance floor, all the guys would come onto the dance floor. And then after 3 or 4 really good songs, you then had to play a shocker. And then everyone would then leave the dance floor.
Go back to the bar.
Go to the bar. They would order more drinks. Once you start to see that was happening, then you start to rebuild again, and then you play a great piece of music, so all of a sudden you get everyone back out on the dance floor where they spill all the drinks. Then all the guys then come back on the dance floor, then you play a shocker. And we would do that. And I remember saying to the guy that was running the bar, my goal is to run that cycle a minimum of 2 and ideally 3 times every 60 minutes to maximize bar takings.
Wow.
And so this is actually understanding that like
the peaks and troughs.
The peaks and troughs, but like getting very, very clear that, you know, whether or not you're managing an auction campaign, in the way that you're working with the buyer, in the way that you're actually going through the experiences in your team, there will naturally need to be locations where you are going to manufacture some low points to ensure that the high points arrive at the right time. So some consciousness, some slight anxiety heading into auction day. So when the great offer comes, the high is actually manufactured for the sale component. I love that. And just thinking more guided about what it is that you're actually doing.
Yeah.
Something that's changing your view.
I just think that this whole thing about help yourself, it's really that desire to be better. And I just remember that, I think it was Napoleon Hill, about this, that burning desire. And remembering that in every stage of life, it's up to you to develop the thing that's really got you energized and to absolutely go for it. And I think that that's one thing that I've been very, very lucky, that I was looking at some of the fires that I've lit during the course of my life, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And the interesting conversation is that music was a really big part of that and has actually driven some of the greatest memories and moments. And so I'm getting back into a bit more of that.
Good on you.
Because I'm thinking I want better quality playlists that redrive some of that fire.
One thing that's changing my view at the moment is we've got one body, you get one vehicle that you got to maintain for the rest of your life for as long as you possibly can. When was the last time you did a health check on exactly what your bloods are, your blood pressure, MRIs, CAT scans, all that type of stuff? We've just finished that, Emily and I, with our performance doctor, Dr. Harry in Melbourne, and it's amazing to be able to, give you the comfort that you're on the right path, but more importantly, know that you're physically fine and ready to go to another level.
I was worried where that was going, if it was the plastic surgeon or the panel beat up. And then Dr. Harry was a vet, but I'm really glad you specified that. But I think that whole idea is that make the decision to feel healthy.
Correct.
And what I've always said to you, you got to feel confident in your own skin.
Absolutely, 100% agreed.